My name is Gary Loomis. I'm here to talk about why I would be a good choice to be a sales manager for your company. So to get right into it, there's basically three major components of sales management that I feel are the most important to help a sales manager excel and to help their team excel. There's developing the sales force, directing the sales force, and then determining sales force effectiveness and performance. Those three things all tied together really what's going to help to create a strong sales force that can easily exceed all goals and then become profitable and successful. So as far as developing the sales force goes, developing is very important. Training is very important. A salesperson has to know the company, they have to know their product, they have to know the ins and outs to be able to overcome objections and to be able to overcome anything that's thrown their way to sell things more successfully. A knowledgeable salesperson has a much better chance of succeeding than an unknowledgeable one. I've seen many times someone getting thrown into the fire, so to speak, and not having training and not really knowing what they're doing, and it showed, and they ended up not making sales and then not lasting at the job. So being knowledgeable is very important, and being trained ahead of time is very important to making a confident, knowledgeable salesperson that is going to succeed in their role. Furthermore, a buyer wants to buy from a seller that is knowledgeable with the product and confident with the product and be able to answer any and all questions, whether it be something very, very simple or a more complicated question. If a salesperson stumbles over that question and they just can't really answer it, they're not going to feel very confident in purchasing that car. I'm sorry, car. I work at a car dealership, so that's coming out. So they're not going to feel confident in purchasing whatever it is that seller is trying to sell. So obviously, I'd make sure that every salesperson has the proper resources available to them to succeed, whether it's a binder with different tips, tricks, little tidbits about important things, or just access to different training websites or sources. I'd make sure that everybody has the ability to succeed and have whatever materials are needed for them to succeed. Again, I've seen many times people getting thrown into the fire. In my particular field, working at a car dealership, I work in service, but I've seen many brand new car salesmen, as green as can be, no experience at all. They just get thrown into the fire with very little training, and then they're expected to go out and sell 20 cars a month with absolutely no training, and it does not work very well. I've seen a sales staff of about 20 new car salesmen dwindle down to about 3 in the matter of about 2 months. The same goes in service. I've seen service writers that don't really know what they're doing, they're not comfortable in their product. A customer's not going to be comfortable purchasing from them, especially in service when it's about their car, where people don't really want to trust service writers anyway. So it's very, very important to be confident and know what they're doing. Even if you don't know what you're talking about, if you're confident, you're going to be able to sell it. Now, as far as directing the sales force, that's really where being the sales manager comes into play. Directing, I'd just say more so leading the sales force. That's also very crucial. A salesperson has to know that they have a great manager who's going to be a good leader, who's going to lead the team and lead each individual. That way, each individual salesperson, they're going to feel more confident knowing they've got a good team backing them up and that they have a good leader backing them up as well that can answer any questions or help them out along the way, or whatever is necessary. In my particular case, I've worked under some great service managers who essentially they'd be my sales manager, or they would have your back no matter what, as long as you're in the right, even if you're not in the right. The sales manager would back you up and he would be a leader. If you had a problem with something, he would show you how to do it. He wouldn't just point fingers and tell you how to do it. He would show you, he'd be out there, he'd be the first one to show you how to sell something or how to help sell something, or if there's a task that needed to be done, a process that needed to be learned, he would be out there showing you instead of just pointing a finger. And I think that's very crucial. I've had multiple managers that are like that, and it definitely helps to sculpt you into a much better salesperson. I've got the experience with that to show it. You gain more respect for that person as well, and you want to work with them, work for them, and do more for them and the company, having the respect for them. And then the third one, which is arguably one of the most, or probably arguably the most important, be determining effectiveness and performance of the sales force. Sales goals and quotas are very important. That's how you know if you're making money, how much you're making, how much you're losing, and what numbers you need to hit to be able to hit your budget and then exceed them. Obviously, exceeding should always be the goal every time. But if, as long as you at least can continuously meet budget and grow from there, you're doing all right. So it's very important to know what numbers are needed to do so. So as far as determining effectiveness and performance, it's you gotta go off the history and base your quotas based off of that with slight increases. You always want to increase a certain percentage from last year, so to speak. So in my instance, being in service, what we would do is, so what our budget for April would be for this year would be X amount percent increase from April of 2015, and that's where we get the quotas for. So if we had a really a really great April last year, obviously it's going to be tough to exceed it this year, but that's a goal that you have to go on, that you have to push for to make more sales and be more successful. There's a lot of different ways to do it. In my particular case, being a service writer, with effectiveness and performance, to be effective, you need to have a high number of labor hours on every work order that is created, as well as a high effective labor rate. So that when an effective labor rate is, that's essentially what the labor rate per hour is going to be. In our case, our normal labor rate is $125 an hour, but obviously for something like an oil change, you're not going to charge $125 an hour. So there are different repairs that have a lower effective labor rate. So all in all, what we need to do as a sales team and as service writers is we need to have a high labor hours per ticket, and we need to hit a certain number effective labor rate. Now, to give a perfect example, our goals are to hit 2.4 labor hours per ticket and $102 per hour as an effective labor rate, both of which are very attainable. Now, the performance aspect of that would be the actual total number of labor hours sold, gross sales, things of that nature. Now, so for our performance, let's say, we're expected to do at least 100 hours of labor sold per week. So obviously we could have someone that's very effective, has a very high effective labor rate, a very good hours per work order, but if they're not getting enough hours, then we need to figure out what we can do. Obviously they're good at what they do and they're very effective, but we need to do something about their performance to help it increase. It's very important that, and all that goes back into directing the sales force and training the sales force. If they have every tool necessary to succeed, they'll be able to be successful. Having the training resources at your fingertips whenever you have an issue, if you can figure it out and solve it real quick, that's going to help a lot. It's going to boost your confidence up, and that's going to lead to being an effective sales team. So I've been doing this now for multiple years, and I feel like I've learned a lot and been able to tie all of this stuff together to perform as an effective sales unit. The team that I work with now, we're one of the best in the region. We're a very, very solid sales team because we tie all of this stuff together. So I've seen it work. I know that it works, and I think that I would be a great fit to lead this company in the right direction. Thanks for your consideration.